And welcome back, Frisbee family. Once again, we are gathered together to speak about disc golf and things outside of disc golf. I'm Greggy Biscuits. It's the Morning Round podcast. Honored to have back in the virtual studio the world traveler, Mr. Disc Golf. It says so right on his knucks. Disc golf himself, Scott Stokely. Welcome back to the studios, Scott.
Thank you so much. And I already have a complaint about my virtual studio because the way the lighting's set up, it's all shaded on this side of my face, and this is the young and handsome side.
Okay, so we're getting the evil side right now.
No, it's not evil. Just the old, worn out side.
He has some special effects. I think some filtering he can.
No, I'm like an 8 over here. I'm only like a 5.2 on that side. Anyways, how are you doing?
We're good. Yeah. We're good. It's exciting. 2024 is here. It feels like 2023 barely ended. What a season. There is no off season. That's correct, right? There is actually no off season.
No, I mean, off season just means recovery and training. And then, like last year we were competing over in Asia and, south of the equator, Australia. So yeah, the season it changes, but it's not over.
Right. So much work to do to get ready for the next year or just maintaining that schedule and that kind of discipline that goes with the regular touring schedule. Now your schedule has changed a bit. You were originally going to be still abroad, were you not?
My plan was to be overseas again this year. Something really incredible happened, which I'm about to announce in about maybe 7 to 10 days. It's the biggest thing I've ever done in disc golf. But I got word of it in July and was like, yeah, I need to be back in the US. But it's for very good reasons. I'm not here because I got tired of traveling or anything crazy like that. It was something really big is about to happen. But I'm doing a bunch of cool stuff this year while I'm in the US. The first one, which you may have seen, but I'm doing the 2024 Disc Golf Pro Tour again. And when I did it 2 years ago, I had a lot of reasons for doing it, but one of those was that I wanted to bring everybody on tour with me. I wanted to show everybody the behind the scenes, the practice rounds, the players party, the registration, all the things involved, and basically kind of take everybody along with me. And, at the end of the tour, if I gave myself a grade on how well I did at that, it would probably be like a C minus, D plus, not for lack of good intentions, but just there wasn't enough time to drive, to practice, to run my clinics and seminars, then edit videos. And so I got a little bit of here's the players party, here's the practice round, but it wasn't the full picture I wanted. This year, I have hired a camera person who will be traveling with us for the next 8 months, who is going to be documenting every single aspect of the tour. And they're on salary. His name's Kendra Mueller. He's on salary, which means he's just going to film everything. And this time I literally will be taking everybody on the pro tour with me. And I couldn't be more excited. And I hope everybody just has a great ride because you're going to get to see it all. I'm the centerpiece of it because you're following. It's my page and everything. But for a lot of it's not going to be about me. It's going to be about the event. It's going to be about the local club. It's going to be about the other competitors. So it's really going to be a behind the scenes look. I'm really excited.
I think that for disc golf fans, coverage has gotten so good, and multiple rounds. You can watch rounds multiple ways in the live feed or in the post production. Getting the behind the scenes, seeing the actual daily trials and tribulations of the athletes, I think is something that people really covet. And you've already done a great job of, like you said, giving those little glimpses in, but there's no comparison for a professional film crew. And I did want to bring up Kendra because he is the director of your successful award-winning documentary, or both of y'all's.
Yes, and actually,
More Than a Shot.
This is why we're in London. Yeah. So Not Just a Shot, a disc golf story has been winning awards at film festivals all over. Everywhere from Greece is the farthest away it won, to it won Best Director of a Documentary Feature at a film festival in Park City, Utah, 2 weeks ago. Not Sundance, but there's several other smaller festivals in Park City. Yeah, Scorpius. Now it won another award at the the Royal Chance Film Festival in Los Angeles. It also won Best Director of a Documentary or a docu-project, they call it. But tomorrow, this is absolutely the most mind-blowing thing. I'm so excited. Our documentary is going to be screening at the Sabin Theater. The Sabin Theater was the Beverly Theater. It's like this classic performing arts theater in Beverly Hills, California. It's on the big screen. You walk out the door. There's the executives from Netflix about two destroyers and a zone away. And hopefully they're going to have representatives there, to see our film. But it's going to be on like the literal big screen at one of the most classic theaters in the world. I don't know if disc golf has ever been on the big screen like this before. So this is a landmark moment for the sport, but then also certainly for us and Kendrew. Yeah, I'm so excited.
Congratulations on that screening. Wish we could be down there for that. Sounds like it's going to be a really special night.
Yeah. Oh, here's the most biggest bummer. Kendrew can't make it because Kendrew serves in the National Guard. So as he's touring, every month he'll have to fly back. Kendrew decided a number of years ago that he wanted to, be of service and wanted to give back, and he wanted to do things to help people. And the National Guard does a lot more of like, disaster relief and those types of things nationally. He's that's how he's giving back. So he can't make it because he's literally serving our country. But I'll be there, and we'll both be.
I'm sure being from that area, greater Los Angeles, it's a real honor to have that, respected and not that we need Hollywood's approval, but it always is fun to get in a little bit of the glitz and glamour and to see a project that you care about so much elevated to that level.
It's just like I never thought I would see. Not that I never thought I'd see disc golf on the big screen. Actually, quite the opposite. I assumed it would be there someday, but for it to be, it's going to be me on the big screen. It's crazy. I even got now, like, since this documentary, I've been, I have there's a film company in Hungary of all places that wants me to come out to be in a film they're doing out there. I'm like, what the heck is happening? This is like, surreal, but it's cool, but like, it's just so bizarre.
Well, give me another 16 months and I'll have a movie for you to appear in as well. But that's a secret, super top secret project. But
we won't say. Well, I'm trying to sell the documentary to Netflix because that's ready-made content for Netflix.
Yeah,
it's award-winning. It's great. I mean, and I'm not. I'm great. I'm saying Kendrew made a great film. I wrote it, but it's like he did all the work, made it work. And then I'm trying to turn my book and my autobiography into a movie as well. So I'm pursuing the mainstream as well quite a bit. So yeah, we're at critical mass. I mean, it's going to be happening for all of us.
Do you anticipate?
If you're working.
Do you anticipate volume 2 of the book coming out anytime soon, or are we still just kind of pushing the first?
At the earliest this winter.
Okay.
The problem with writing a book is that it's really hard if you're not a good writer. Like, I wrote a good book.
That checks out.
I wrote a good book, but it took me like 18 months and seven total rewrites and an editor. So I wrote a good book, but I'm not a good writer, which means the process. It's like there's no Stephen King, book a room at the Stanley Hotel and write The Shining moments. It's like it's a grind.
Yeah, for sure.
So, but there will be a second book for sure.
So, Ian, tons of great anecdotes in the first book, Growing Up Disc Golf, from Scott Stokely. You've been hanging out back at OG, have you not?
I've been at Oak Grove a couple times. I got to shoot with PDGA number 3, Dan Roddick, one of my closest friends from way back, heroes. He's the second face on the Mount Rushmore of disc golf, not players, but of people that built the sport, right after Ed Hedrick. And he's not far away from Ed Hedrick. I mean, to me, there's Ed Hedrick and Dan Roddick. And then there's a little bit of a gap to the next person. I mean, Dan's right up there with Ed as far as making the sport what it is today.
And just to elaborate on that a little bit more for folks who may not be familiar with Stork's work, Ed Hedrick obviously is famous for patenting the basket and a couple other design influences. Talk about what Stork was doing early on.
Sure. So Ed was a head of sports promotion at Wham. Dan Roddick nicknamed Stork. So if I interchange the names, it's Dan and Stork, same person. Were the head of sports promotion at Whammo. They were working under Ed Hedrick, and then Ed Hedrick left to form DGA to just pursue disc golf. But Dan was working at Whammo, and at the time, flying discs were almost all made by Whammo. They were trademarked with the name Frisbee. So when people talk about Frisbees, really they're talking about a specific flying disc made by Whammo. But since they dominated the market, the name Frisbee became synonymous with flying disc. Kind of like Aspirin, Kleenex. Those are brand names, but now they're just terms for products. Whammo dominated the market, and hence Frisbee golf was what it was called in the early days. And Dan did everything from co-founding the World Flying Disc Federation, the first global organization. He was involved in creating tech standards for the PDGA for golf discs. He ran programs that hosted juniors Frisbee tournaments all over the world that had hundreds of thousands of juniors. I mean, literally hundreds of thousands of kids. And a large number of early players, including early pioneers, tournament directors, course developers, came out of the junior programs that Dan created. He ran the overall tournament, the Big Flying Disc Federation. He was involved in participating in running the Rose Bowl events. I mean, he was a promoter before anybody knew that disc sports was a sport. And so he laid that groundwork for the evolution of the game, not just for disc golf, but for ultimate as well. All the other sports, double disc sport, guts, freestyle, but ultimate and disc golf clearly being the ones that made it big. Like it all goes back to Dan, and then ultimately Ed with disc golf. But he was like, we wouldn't be where we were without him. I mean, we all owe him a debt of gratitude.
And still, all these years later, out there, still giving clinics, still educating, and apparently still with a mean roller game.
Yeah, I mean, I shot around in golf with Dan like literally yesterday. He's I don't want to brag or anything, but I beat him. He's a little bit older than me.
Mark that down. Yeah. Well, we're proud of you for that.
Thank you. No, he's still just one of the greats. He loves the game. He loves disc sports. I mean, this is what he lived for. He started playing and competing, him and his father Jack, in the 60s. Like, so people call me an OG. Like, I'm not an OG. I can't possibly be an OG when people like Tom Minot, Victor Malafronte, and Snapper Pearson, et cetera, came before me. There's a generation of top players before me. But they're the OGs.
Yeah.
But they are not the founders. Before the OGs, which is the generation before me, were the founders. This was the Berkeley Six Frisbee players in Berkeley, California. It was Dan Roddick. It was Ken Westerfield and Jim Kenner at Discraft. Jim Kenner is one of the founders, the earliest pioneers in the game. Victor Malafronte, I would probably put in that group. So, like, I'm 2 generations removed from the people that actually created the sport. And so Dan is one of those 2 generations before me. As old as I feel, the expression standing on the shoulders of giants is very apt in this case. He's my hero.
I was going to ask if he was an OG gopher, but it sounds like he was from Berkeley, so he was hailing from the club up north.
No, he was
a gopher?
He was definitely one of the OG gophers. I mean, he was out in California at that time, so he definitely would have been one of the OG gophers. He actually went to school at Rutgers, so he was from back east. And then he was running some events out there, I think, for the IFA, and then Ed asked him to come out and work for him at Whammo, because he was doing his own promotions out there. And so he was working under Ed, very close to Ed. I mean, we all knew Ed. I mean, the sport was small back then. People are like, "Oh my God, you knew Ed Hedrick?" And I'm like, "Yeah, we kind of all did, because there weren't that many people playing the sport. If you played, you knew Ed. We all knew Ed, but we all knew Stork too. Everybody did."
Yeah, so many important figures, and again, it just shows how much influence you can have. I think another recent good example of that is we see the vision of the Northeast Disc Golf Expo. and how they were able to pull that off. It seemed like a very successful event. It's just nice to see new ideas coming up and then building, of course, on the foundation that pre-exists. And
Yeah, I mean, we're not reinventing the wheel with any of this. I mean,
right.
there's a model for everything we do. I mean, my teaching and my setting up trainers and then working on training centers. I mean, Ledbetter did this in ball golf, and I'm not reinventing that process, right? So everything from tournaments to trade shows to marketing, distribution, media. I mean, it's all been, there's a model for it. The only thing I would say that's newer is probably the media model, just because the transition from where like 15 years ago, if you weren't on CBS or NBC or ABC, you
Mhm.
weren't even a real sport in some people's eyes. And now it's like, yeah, that'd be kind of fun, but like I personally, I don't know if I know a single person that owns a TV anymore. Like, who watches
Right.
TV? Nobody younger, you know.
Mhm.
And so
Mhm.
the media platform has changed, and we're making up those rules as we go. Like, hey, why don't we have our own channel, and then like just the people that want to watch it can pay, like that. That's
Mhm.
that's new, but for the most part, we're just following in the footsteps of the successful sports before us, except
Yeah.
better because we're disco.
Right. Exactly. Well, it's the best, right?
Because we're cooler and more handsome and beautiful and smart, and
There's a lot of
I mean, in
potential.
my opinion,
There's a lot of
in
potential.
my opinion.
Yeah, I remember standing with you. I think we were there in Des Moines, or I should say in Indianola, at the Des Moines Challenge. And I think we were basically adjacent there to like hole 2. Is it coming back? And it was a huge crowd that day. It was the final day. I believe it was maybe when the playoff started. So it was the playoff
Okay.
happening between who's that? Robert and Simon.
Birds, Simon. Yeah, we were
Yep.
by the teapot a whole, I think.
Yeah, and it was again, I had just caught you for a moment, and people were coming up and asking for your autograph still, and the crowd was great, and I think you just sort of had a moment, like a poignant moment of just realizing it, like, man, it's like this is happening. How, if you can go back to that moment and then say, has that trajectory continued now, almost a year and a half later, and how that relates to sort of like oversaturation, a little bit of like the disc golf media, but more so just like how are we feeling? How you feeling about
No,
disc
there's no
golf?
such
Yeah.
thing. There's no oversaturation of disc golf media. If there's too much, then there'll be less viewers per media, which means that each of the platforms makes less money, and then the watermark. Like, I'm a big fan of free market capitalism. So I'm
Mhm,
not being political. I'm just
mhm,
saying I like the idea of the free market dictating. So you can't have too much media, or rather, if there is too much media, the market will decide that by, you'll cannibalize the market, and then some companies will disappear. So yeah, no such thing as too much. No, the trajectory of disc golf is it's everything's great. Okay, yeah, there's a landmine over here.
mhm,
There's some political issue over there, right? I mean,
mhm,
that's just the real world. I mean, you have humans and flawed people trying to do things, and like, by the way, flawed people, me, flawed people, you. I'm saying all of us, we're humans. So it's not going to be mistake free, but like the overall trajectory is going forward.
for
I kind of
sure.
think of it like it's like disc golf is like a river, and then like you can throw a rock in the river, which kind of creates some ripples in it, but it's not
Mhm,
stopping the river.
mhm,
Like
mhm,
and at worst, the river will just go around the rock, but the rock won't. It's not a dam. There's no
mhm.
dams in our future.
Comparing the US development with versus European development, I feel like I hear a lot of people talking about disc golf exploding in Europe, but I think you have a great perspective on this. Wouldn't you say it kind of already exploded maybe before it quote unquote exploded back here domestically, and now it's almost like a game of like leapfrog, right? We're now okay, maybe the US game got a little momentum and got a little farther ahead, but still there's this great population of disc golfers in Europe, especially in the more northern sections of the continent. How would you kind of characterize that phrase of like disc golf exploding in 2024 in Europe?
Like, disc golf in Finland has passed the U.S., other than the fact that we have, what, 400 million people, they have 5.5 million.
Hmm.
So in terms of sheer numbers, obviously they're not going to match up. But in terms of the sport within that country, Finland is number one. There's like there's a huge gap between one and two. When you go to Finland, here's the stat on Finland. If there were as many courses in Denver, Colorado, as there were in per capita, as there
Mm-hmm.
were in Finland, Denver would have almost 1,000 courses. Like every single school in Finland
Mm-hmm.
has a disc golf course on the property. Like disc golf to schools in Finland is basketball courts to a school in the U.S. Like, can you imagine a school in the U.S. not having basketball courts? Like, of course not.
Right.
Can you imagine a PE curriculum not including a month of basketball? Of course not. Well, that's Finland. Like, it is basically the national sport of Finland. In fact, they just don't like hockey and I don't know, biathlon.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's racist against Finland. whatever sport they do in Finland. I mean, I suppose
Hockey, I believe,
football,
is still
soccer.
pretty popular. Yeah.
I think disc golf's the national sport of Finland now. Like as far as participation, there was a poll that came out. This is what was big news when I was over there. They asked school children in Finland what their number one after school activity was, and what 45%, right? 45% of kids in Finland said disc golf was their number one after school activity.
Mm-hmm.
And of the 55% that didn't have it number one, a bunch of them had it probably number two or number three.
Right.
So disc golf is the national sport of Finland now, and it's like it's insane. Like 3 or 4,000 kids come out to watch the European Championships. It's ridiculous. So they're a smaller population. I mean, what would you say was it 2018, 30? Say they're what 70 times the population in the U.S. Well, you take a person in Finland and multiply it times 70 because the market was 70 times bigger. They're bigger per capita than we are.
Mm-hmm. No,
And by the way, yeah, Sweden and Estonia and Norway and Denmark and those places are like they're not far behind.
yeah, I feel like,
So
again, it's hard to describe it as exploding when it's already more popular, right, on a per capita basis. I guess maybe it's the awareness of touring professionals outside of Europe. And so, because again, that gives some sort of validity in the West, even if it's granted or not, versus, kind of the media coverage. Because again, their media is getting better too, right? They're getting better and better at covering disc golf tournaments, putting on the disc golf tournaments and putting it out to the public. So I don't know. It's just great news because it means the groundswell is building, all over the world, which is what we want to see the sport grow.
it truly is. I'll tell you what, the scariest next generation of golfers are coming out of Finland because every one of those schools where they're playing golf, they have coaches.
Mm-hmm.
They have, whether or not they're at the level of, because the sport, like quote unquote is newer and probably the coaches haven't been through proper training and, but that's still a leg up over nobody showing the kids how to play, right? So they actually there are thousands of like 980 rated kids in Finland that
Right.
are about to be 1030 next week. Like it's going to be scary. They're going to come over here and yeah. But again, it's not just Finland. I mean,
Right.
Estonia is right there and so is the rest of them. So
Yeah, I think the elevation and the partnership of the European Pro Tour now with Disc Golf Pro Tour, I think is going to further,
yes.
sort of increase the awareness there in those countries. And this is going to be a great showcasing this season as they go through 5 countries. They're in Norway, they're in Sweden, they're in Finland, they're in Estonia. It's great just to see how widespread and popular it is.
Well, here's the most telling thing that I saw when I was in Finland. So back here in the good old U.S., when you're Best Buy, they have very well-educated, well-trained, well-researched people with the data that will tell you if you're Best Buy and you want to sell televisions, you need to have certain programs on your television to reach the different demographics. You need to have football games on there so the football fan says, I want to watch my team on the big screen, right? Like it's not an accident what shows they put on these TVs, right?
Mm-hmm.
You put them on, you put whatever's going to sell the most TVs. We walked into the finished version of Best Buy. Every TV along this massive wall, disc golf. Every one of them.
That's awesome.
Basically, you're in Finland and you're in your Best Buy. You're like, hey, everybody, you need to buy a new flat screen because you can watch disc golf better on it. And I'm just like, that's so much deeper than it is at first glance. When you really think about it, you're like,
Mm-hmm.
that's a big deal. So, anyways,
It's
are you paying attention, Best Buy?
it's ingrained in the psychology over there. That's what we're getting to. Well, we're talking about youngsters, and I want to shout you out for providing your Christmas Day stream and also your New Year's Eve streams, which you were
Oh, thank you.
gathering disc golfers together. And I got to watch a fair amount of the Christmas edition, and it was great. You just had like kind of quick little interviews with lots of different disc golfers, different ages, different skill levels, different kind of relationship to the game, and it was really fun to peek behind the curtain with people. One of the players you had on there was a new OTB signing, young Aiden Scott.
Oh, really?
Yeah, tell me, tell the people why they need to care about Aiden Scott in 2024.
Okay, so the reason why, I'll tell you why I cared about Aiden Scott. So first off, he's a very good golfer. But when I do this show, my Christmas show, I didn't want to just stack it with like the top people on the pro tour. I wanted to have some. I've done this is my fourth year doing the show. Fourth year, right? Fourth year doing the show. It's a 3-hour show. Everybody's on for 10 minutes, so I have a minimum of 18 guests. And I want some top pros, FPO and MPO, but then I want some people from the old days. I want some promoters. I want maybe a manufacturer. No politics. I don't care about who throws what. But I try to mix it up. And so like this year, of course, I had the owner of UDisc on there, and then I had 3, of the junior 8 and under champions. One of the things that I try to teach, I mean, I try if I can, I really want to mentor some of the younger players on the things that I feel like I'm good at. And one of those is building a brand, building a company, building the business around who you are as a professional athlete. And one of the biggest lessons I try to give everybody is I guess the word is agency.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, going after what you want. Like, you don't sit there and wait for someone to contact you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're going to be sitting there a long time. Unless your name's Paul Macbeth or Kristen Tatar, like, you're going to be left out if you're not aggressively going after what you want.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't that familiar with Aiden Scott. I know he's like a 10-20 player, so he's clearly one of the top 50 in the world. But he reached out to me, and he was basically like, look, I think you really probably want to have me on your show. And I'm like, yes, that's what I'm looking for, everybody. So I said, I want to bring you on, but then I want to also use this as a lesson to teach other players. This is how you get promotion. This is how you promote yourself. You don't wait,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So that's why. So he's a real nice kid, and he's good. But yeah, I brought him on because he actually just picked up the phone and called me.
That's awesome.
This is like what I mean by like going after what you want. So 2 years ago, I was in the big celebrity skins match at Ben Askren's place.
Mm-hmm.
And it was Macbeth, was Ricky there, James Conrad, I mean, Calvin Heimberg, Paige Pierce, right? Like, it was a who's who of top players.
Mm-hmm.
And it had been decided for quite a while who the 8 players were going to be at this big celebrity skins match, paired up with 8 celebrities at Ben Askren. He's a champion mixed martial artist. Anyways,
Mm-hmm.
so I happen to be in Wisconsin, and I reach out to Ben, and we're talking on the phone. And Ben says to me, "Oh man, you should come by. I'm doing the celebrity skins match is going to be there at my place in 2 weeks. I would love it if you came by. Obviously, you can't play. I mean, this is the players have been chosen for months, but I
Mm-hmm.
would really like it. I would really like it if you were there."
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, "That's cool. I would love to. I'll stop by, maybe shoot some content. Thanks, Ben. Nice to meet you. Real nice guy." So, anyways, I'm up in Minnesota a couple weeks before the tournament, and I hear that one of the players won't be able to go to the celebrity skins match because they're injured.
Mm-hmm.
So I go up to Jeff Spring, the head of the Disc Golf Pro Tour. I said, "Hey, Jeff, just wanted to let you know I got off the phone with Ben Askren. He says he really wants me there." And Jeff says, "Wait, Ben, really?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, you can call him if you want. I mean, I just talked to him like a couple days ago. He says he really wants me at the match." He says, "Well, I guess if Ben wants you there, it's just, yeah, okay, cool, you're in." I didn't lie.
I
Ben
mean,
invited me out to. I was
he
being
said,
honest.
yeah, that's how it is. That's why we're here right now. It was like, oh, let's do a pod. It's like, yeah, sure, let's do
Yeah,
a pod. No one.
but Right. But how do I get invited to the skins match with Paul Macbeth and Calvin Heimberg? Well, the
Yeah.
way I do it is go after it. The worst that happens, and by the way, many of my attempts to promote myself haven't worked, but I go after everything,
Hmm.
and I get some wins along the way, and that's what Aiden did.
Yeah.
Aiden could have been told no, but I'll tell you what, if he was the first pro to reach out to me and ask me, if the answer was no, he would have been on next year.
Hmm.
By the way, if anybody's
Yeah.
listening, don't tell Jeff Spring what's happened. This is what's happened.
This is more of a dramatization of the actual events, right? That's what we're
Let's just
working with
say
here.
hypothetically that's what happened. Oh, and by the way, hypothetically, I won the skins match too. Just hypothetically, but yeah. So I just that's what you do. There's my teaching lesson for this podcast. Like,
Right.
don't wait. Go after what you want, and then fail most of the time when you try. But when
Without try, there is no fail, right?
Jeff wasn't going to reach out to me and ask me to play. That there
Yeah.
was a 0% chance I go. There was a 10% chance if I approached him, I get to go, and that was one of the 10%.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Well,
it was fun.
and so again, back on the Pro Tour for 2024, you're going to have your
Drink my
documentary.
protein shakes. By the
He's
way, Premier Protein, if you're listening, I need a sponsor. These are $3 a piece. I drink like 5 a day.
all right.
Like I can't afford Premier Protein. Please sponsor me.
We gotta get some tags there in the comments. Make sure we get a.
Please tag. If you know anybody Premier Protein, tell them I need
Scott needs a pallet.
free protein shakes. I need free protein shakes.
It's probably pretty shelf. It'll probably last on the shelf a little while, right? Got some shelf life to it.
I mean, it's filled with all sorts of artificial things I've
Preservative.
never heard of. They're not good for you, but it'll last forever.
It's good for working out. So
Right.
what's the next stop immediately here for Scott
The
Stokely?
first stop is Waco.
Yeah.
I'm going to be at the Waco. I'm playing the whole tour. I mean,
Right.
I am missing the occasional event because I need a break. I won't make it out to Florida for the chess.com. Congratulations to chess.com and the Disc Golf Pro Tour getting together, but I won't make that one. But I'll start in Waco, and I
Hmm.
will end as far as the season takes me because at the end of the season, you
Have to
um,
qualify. Yeah.
have to qualify, right? And so I have every intention of qualifying. Like last year, I qualified for the USDGC. I had a third place finish at a Pro Tour event
Hmm.
out in Europe. I had 2/5 and a third, but the third place qualified me. So I have every intention of qualifying this year. So I mean, my plan is to play throughout the whole season, but we'll see.
Very good. Well, it'll be exciting to see you back out there in Texas. That's the last place we crossed paths there at the Live Oak Putt
Yes.
Night. So
And I will be at the OTB Open.
I did see that on your schedule, so we'll be excited to have you up here in Stockton. And
I know I'm kind of scared. I'm kind of scared because
you're a
that
tough
course is long.
guy. You're a
That
tough guy.
course is so long.
Well, again, maybe Dan will throw you a couple more roller tips and just
I'll
really
take
really
them.
redefine your game, right? Speaking of OTB Open, and I think we've gone down memory lane about Leonard before, but I need one more Leonard Muse story, if you don't mind.
Oh my gosh, one more Leonard Muse story.
Could you talk about when you were kind of roommates there in the book? But there's got to be going to a tournament or something with Leonard, something
Oh,
spicy.
I mean, I went to October Frizz with Leonard. I played national doubles with Leonard. We got a top 10 finish at national pairs in 1992. Leonard was a very good golfer. Like, he was a very good golfer. Here, I got a stat for Leonard because Leonard is
He's the stat man.
no, well, yes, but I'm trying to think of like it's 2024. I need to be politically correct.
Mm-hmm.
He is height challenged.
Oh, for sure.
Is that the right way to say it?
He's a little guy.
He is smaller height abled.
He's
But
he's
Leonard,
concentrated. That's what we call that, concentrated.
yeah. So when I threw 200 meters,
Mhm.
I was the first player to break the 200-meter mark. This was back when we had Speed 6 discs, right? So it was 693 feet was pretty far with this, or 656 feet, pretty far with like a like a mid range. But I threw 100 times my height, And when I did that, I was made aware of the fact, to the best of our knowledge, I think Leonard was the first person to throw 100 times his height. He threw
Mm,
something like 100, like 50 or 160 meters, or something like that. But I believe Leonard threw 100 times his height. He may have been the first person in the world to do it. Now with this technology, this is actually not common, but there's probably been 1,000 players that have thrown 100 times their height. But back with speed sixes and sevens, I think Leonard
mhm,
might have been the first. Check with him on it. But if he wasn't the first, he was like the second person, one
mhm.
of two people to do. Which,
We'll
by the
double check.
way, here's and the question we had back then is, well, then who throws better? Because it's physics, right? The taller you are, the more leverage you have.
Mhm,
Like, you can throw better when you're taller. Clearly, does
mhm,
that mean that
mhm,
Leonard was throwing as hard as me? We just had different bodies, or with as good a technique as me?
mhm,
And
mhm.
that's it's a debatable question, but a fun one.
For sure. I mean, and that's what keeps us chatting about disc golf and speculating and wondering who are the greats of all time. And we're just lucky to be alive in the time, I think, when we have such high skilled players coming up through the ranks. It's really incredible. And then as
It's
you get the
it's
chance
a
to
horrible.
travel, it is
It's
horrible for you.
horrible.
It's
It
horrible
is
for you.
horrible. It's funny. So the reason I decided, well, one reason I decided to do the disc golf pro tour again was that I brought my rating up to 1,017,
Hmm.
and I did this by shooting 1,028 on the Euro Tour. I mean, I shot 1,049 for a tournament on the Euro Tour. So I'm playing 1,028 golf, which is to me just like this miraculous high level of golf. Like, I swear I didn't miss a putt in on the Euro Tour.
Hmm.
Like I could count on one hand the amount of putts I missed. I mean, I played so good, and I shot so well on the Euro Tour that if I can do that on the Pro Tour, I'll be the middle of the pack.
Hmm. That's awesome.
Like, you gotta be kidding me. So, like, I can actually play. I can go out to a Pro Tour event right now, play a tournament, and feel like, you know what? I didn't leave much out there. I played pretty darn well, and I'm outside of the cash. That can happen. Now, I will cash at some events for sure, but I could play decent and not cash because there's so many good players. And by the way, that's horrible. I hate it. It sucks. Those kids are so good.
It's incredible. And then, of course, on the MPO side and the FPO side, now one event that you do have on your schedule is the mixed doubles, and you have several standard doubles world titles, correct?
Yeah. I have a
And
whole bunch of world national doubles. Doubles used to be a big deal in the 90s. I've won 4 national pairs championships and 2 world pairs and 2 mixed pairs and tough shot pairs. So I probably got 10 or 12 world and national doubles titles from when I was younger.
and then
And
I think
hopefully,
back in Emporia, you had played with Danny, right? That was your last
yes,
mixed doubles partner. How's the recruitment going
yes,
for
yes.
this season? Do we need to put some feelers out there? Where are we looking on your
Yeah.
partner
So,
for
by the
2024?
way, Danny and I, if not for 26 bad breaks, would have won.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
But if not for those 26 just completely unbelievably bad breaks, I mean, that's how
Right.
close we were to Calvin and Macy.
Macy, right.
No, yeah, I am actually looking for a mixed doubles partner, and I've been contacted by a number of the FPO players about playing, and I'm kind of mulling over the options. It's a real interesting thing because, like I'm if I shot 1028 last summer, like, I'm probably going to be around a top 50 player, like maybe right outside the top 50 or a ballpark. If you're a top, that means if you're a top 10 or top 20 FPO player, it means you can do better than me.
Mm-hmm.
So any top FPO player that wants to play with me is going to take a step down in the level of play, just being honest.
Mm-hmm.
And also possibly, not possibly, but they would be objectively reducing their chances of winning.
Mm-hmm.
The trade-off is, number one, I think some people might feel like it's a neat opportunity to play with someone before they're gone. They've been
Mm-hmm.
around a long time. But also, because I'm doing this daily vlog, like, we will record practice rounds, strategy sessions. If a top FPO player is, really focused on marketing themselves, this is a better marketing opportunity maybe than anyone else they could possibly play with, as far as the amount of exposure they get for themselves and their brand. Um, a top FPO player that might be under the radar with my audience, because I've about 150,000 people following me.
Mm-hmm.
Half of them are over the age of 50. Like, that's exposure to an audience that maybe they were aware of but aren't connected to, that they can now bring in to buy their tour discs, and you know what I mean. So
Mm-hmm.
if one of the FPO players is really sharp enough to pick up on the advantages to playing with me,
Mm-hmm.
along with the trade-offs, then I think that's if they can see that, it's going to be good for their career. But I didn't want to just ask and get rejected by a bunch of top players because I'm not a quote top player. I'd rather just
Mm-hmm.
put the word out and have one of them say, "Oh my God, this is an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good opportunity." If you know any top FPO players, let them know. I mean, they're going to get more exposure playing with me than with any other player, almost certainly.
And it's a great event. And I hope they build up the promotion of it and make it easier for people to watch, because 2 years ago it was such a fun day, and I know they probably had fun last year too. I just don't know from
Yeah,
personal
I mean,
experience
we
what a
would have
special.
last year. We were 26 bad breaks away from winning last year. By the way, if a top FPO player plays with me, it doesn't mean we can't win. I
Yeah,
shot 1040 and had a podium finish at a pro tour event
it's
last year. It's
doubles.
not
It's
like
doubles. It's a
I'm not
different game.
I'm capable of playing hot for a day. Believe me.
Oh yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, we just got to get the right duo there. I think you guys
the
can
right duo.
definitely put some heat on the podium.
Well,
So
we'll
yeah,
we'll be a contender. That's for sure. You're not just giving up a chance of winning. You might reduce it, but you're not giving up a chance. We could shock the world. I
and
mean,
then you
the
win.
goal is to win. The goal is not to promote ourselves. The goal is to win.
Right.
Period. I mean, that is the goal. But along the way, we will be recording practice rounds, strategy sessions, and doing that as well.
That's awesome. Well, gosh, time is flying by. It's just so easy to talk disc golf with Scott Stokely. Uh, a-
Yeah,
any
you as
any
well, man.
any other major visions, goals for 2024? Anything you want to shout out? Obviously, the documentary is happening. Uh, Take a little time
Yeah,
here. Let's look towards
not
the
just at
future.
shot.com. I may hypothetically, possibly, be having a phone game coming out here in the next 2 weeks, a beta version people are going to be able to test.
Okay.
Um, I have a huge announcement, another announcement in 2 weeks. Just follow me, and it's going to
Yeah.
be the coolest announcement, cool things going on. I would say right now, the best thing you can do if you really want to connect to these things that I'm doing, these projects, is go to scottstokely.net/Discord. There's about, what, 1,400 people on my Discord
Mm-hmm.
server that are
Mm-hmm.
kind of like the inner circle of things we're doing. Everything from growing disc golf globally to playing disc golf, dealing with mental health and addiction, to training and getting better at disc golf. That's always part of what I do, but it's really kind of like the inner circle of like, uh, you know, being happy and doing great at life, you know. So I encourage everybody that wants to be a part of this to go there. scottstokely.net/Discord. What else is going on? My God, it seems insane. It's a whirlwind right now. Go play Ollie Disc Golf Center in Sweden. Got that
Oh, I
one
can't
in.
can't wait. We had Vincent out recently on his North America trip, and he played the Golden
Oh
Gate
yeah,
tag round with us. So it was great to get a round of golf in. And you better believe I
he's
planted the seed of getting over to
he's such
Ale.
no, he is such a great guy. Ollie Disc Golf Center is in my opinion, it's the most epic disc golf destination site in the world. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I soft spot for Eagles Crossing and how great that
Mm-hmm.
location is within the US as well. Different experience. I mean, it's
Mm-hmm.
different.
Mm-hmm.
All having several world class courses, but also camping, all sorts of other facilities. And you're in Sweden.
Exactly. And he really appreciates the positive promotion and the spokesperson that you've been for Ale. So that's kudos from Vincent for that. But
Very
Scott,
symbiotic.
thanks.
Good to
Scott,
us.
thanks for taking the time out, and it's always good to see you. You gonna be playing some golf this weekend?
I am going to be in Lake Havasu caddying for a player by the name of Dallas Garber.
We're familiar with Dallas.
Yeah, he's kind of good.
He's from Oregon.
And
He's another one of those youngsters. He's just so damn good.
I know. He beat Cole Rodallen at the last tournament they played to win the tournament. And I only bring that up. I mean, I am the biggest Cole Rodallen fan, like in the sport. I love Cole. I only bring that up as a compliment to Cole.
Right.
Because beating Cole is such a big deal. Beating Cole when you're 16 years old by shooting 10-16. Come on.
Unreal.
Stupid. Yeah, he's a great kid. Him and his mom, we're going to get to spend some time with them. And but I offered to caddy for him at the tournament. So I'm not competing until March, until Waco.
Okay.
But yeah, follow me. Follow my YouTube channel. Follow my daily vlog on YouTube. We got so much cool stuff happening. It's going to be an amazing season. But the behind the scenes of the tour, it'll be on my YouTube channel. It's the name of the show. I'll even spoil it here and let you know.
That's the thing. That was another question. Did we decide on a name? That's the big reveal.
Yeah, the big reveal. Should I reveal now or should I keep it? I'm going to reveal it with you. So here, this is my way of thanking you, because let me tell everybody out there. I want to tell everybody about OTB for a second before I give the reveal. The reason I'm going to give you the reveal on your show is because when I was doing the pro tour, I had my tour discs available that I was trying to sell, trying to make a living out on the road. You know, I give away all my prize money, so I'm trying to make a living out there. And I certainly, because I had a small selection of tour discs, I would lose money if I bought a booth at one of the fly marts. It's just not possible. And OTB let me come set up with them and sell discs literally on their tables with them, which is a pretty big deal because OTB paid for this booth. OTB is a business trying to, basically pay people's salaries and, keep the electricity on. And there are people that come up and say, "Oh, that's a really cool OTB destroyer, but I only have $20. I think I'll buy the Stokely disc instead." Like, you directly lose sales by allowing somebody to sell at your table. But you did it, to the best of my knowledge, just because you're my friend and you're nice and just wanted to help out. And so you guys were, and this was not one tournament. This was the season. So I'm so grateful to OTB for helping support my tour in 2022. So I will give you the name of the show.
Here we go.
The name of the show is going to be called The Longest Drive.
Nice.
Yes, and it's great.
It's good that Kyle's here because we can timestamp that. The Longest Drive. It sounds great. That's a perfect name.
Yeah, it might be called Stokely's Longest Drive because I got to brand my name with it, but it's still The Longest Drive. It's perfect because I kind of used to throw far, and then I live on the road, and I love the name, and so it wasn't a name that I had chosen, but then I heard it, and I'm like, this is a no-brainer. So that's the name of my show. It's called The Longest Drive, but it's on the Scott Stokely YouTube channel. But it'll be a playlist called The Longest Drive, and it's all the behind the scenes of the tour, and it's going to be the best year ever.
Well, getting back to your kind words, we appreciate you. We appreciate all of the hard work and building of the sport that you've done up to this point. So we're always happy to help you out when we can. And
it's usually not. You guys are the best.
It's not hard to be helpful usually, right?
No. Well, in fact, the reason I'm going to OTB, I originally wasn't going to play. Honestly, I wasn't going to play just because it's a course that just doesn't suit me. Look, if I play well at Maple Hill, I feel like I can win. If I play well at OTB, I won't win. It's a type of course that is just not suited for. Like, I'm not beating Anthony Barella out there. Period. End of discussion. On my best day. But Sean Jack with the Pro Tour has been a big supporter of mine and has stepped up for me many times. OTB was such a supporter. And so I'm going there specifically because of the people involved that I want to support, even if I get my lunch handed to me, which I probably will.
Well, that's great. And of course, we'd love to have you come by the shop and visit the actual studio instead of the virtual one and check out what we got going on here. So make sure you schedule some time to pop over and say hi.
And you'll like the proper side of my face this time, the handsome side?
I think we'll have both sides. Let's go ahead and agree
No,
to
no, no,
that.
not both sides. No, no, the one side of my face.
We don't need the
is-
hideous side, just the handsome one. Okay,
No, you just need the good side.
that's what we'll do. All right,
thanks.
Scott.
I appreciate it.
Thanks.
All right,
Thanks
man.
again, and we'll be excited to see you in Stockton in May, and otherwise out on the tour. I hope to see you at a few putt nights, and we'll be in talks. We'll be seeing each other.
We'll be at everything. So, all right, see you guys. Thank
All right,
you.
thank
Thank
you.
you, everybody.